Hi everybody, it's Gareth here at Podpit, and I am really, really excited to have my very good friend, Mr. Ross Lowe, with me today. Um, Ross and
Hello, mate.
I, hello mate, hello. Ross and I go back a long, long time. We met at Drayton Manor theme park in the Midlands back in the summer of 2012.
Bang on, bang
Yeah,
on. You've already doing better than me because for some reason in my head I was going to say it was Alton Towers, and it really was. It was Drayton Manor. So yeah,
Yeah,
brilliant.
yeah. It was. Yeah, it was Drayton Manor because
Mm.
that was 20 minutes from where I was living at the time, and I remember it quite vividly. It was the summer that the first summer that I'd set my business up, and I'd gone to this trade show to exhibit, try and get my name out there, and bumped into Ross, and I think you were working with Jody at the time, weren't you?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I was with Jody Pivor at Jigsaw Web Design. They were based in Kings Heath in Birmingham. It was my first ever copywriter gig with
Yeah,
those guys, and we were on a little trip to the business fair, and there you were with your mum,
yeah,
stood on your stand. You got your fantastic. What was it called? The typo bot,
yeah.
the transformer T-shirt. That was the first thing that, apart from your face, that was the first thing that caught my eye. And and yeah, I remember we had a good chat, and it was a time when I was kind of sort of thinking a lot of things over in terms of business and where I wanted to go, and to see you, making a foray into having your own business as a graphic designer made me, sort of think, oh, you can do creative stuff and have your own business at the same time. Amazing.
Yeah,
Who'd
yeah.
have thought?
I remember those T-shirts. I think you had one, didn't you? I think you
I
bought
did. I
one.
won. I think I won it. I think I won
I
it
think you
on
might. Yeah,
Facebook or something like that. Yeah, but
yeah.
I've still got it. I've still got it, mate. I should have put it on.
Now they were class there. I'll have to put a link to them in the show notes because they were really good. They were. So,
Yeah,
but yeah.
yeah.
So that's a good 9 years ago. That so we've known each other for a long time now, mate. And I think life has taken you on an incredible journey, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get you on today because I think
Oh,
your story is an incredible one, and that's what Podpit's all about. So it's real people, real stories, real businesses,
bless
and
you.
talking in detail about that journey, and that's why we're here now. So what
Ah.
I'll do is I'll shut up now, mate. And I'll let you introduce yourself and your business and what you're doing, and then we'll get stuck into it.
Oh my God, it's like being back in networking. Yeah, okay. So my name's Ross Lowe. I'm not very tall. No, forget that. So yes, Ross Lowe. So I currently live in Berlin. This. If you're watching it on YouTube, this is what Berlin looks like. It looks exactly the same as England because it's a bedroom. But yes, moved to Berlin a year and a half ago. But originally from Derby. I'm a copywriter. That's my business. I've now nominally known as the English copywriter in an attempt to sort of get me more business out here in Germany and across Europe. It's about creating content for companies to promote themselves, but European companies and companies around the world who want to sell to English speaking countries. I'm providing a service for them, and that started to take off really nicely. But prior to that, I've been a copywriter, freelance copywriter for about 9 years, funnily enough. And yeah, it's something I really enjoy. It's writing for me has always been a passion since I was at school. And very, since I was a kid, my mum and dad used to really encourage me in terms of creativity. My dad would make up stories at bedtime and always tell me and my sister stories, sat on the end of the bed, and he would make it up off the top of his head about people he knew and different things. And my mum has always been one of those people who really pushed us to pursue things that weren't necessarily going to secure as well paid jobs or whatever, but we're gonna make us happy. And so from the start, really, I've always enjoyed creativity, but it's only sort of later in life that I've sort of turned it into something that I could earn money from. I went a bit of a haphazard route to get here. But yeah, a freelance copywriter, writing in English in Germany. There you go.
Yeah, that's mad, that is, isn't it? Yeah, it's I think nowadays the power of the written word is more relevant than ever with the way that we digest content. So you had the blogging boom a few years ago when everybody was mega keen to get um, fresh blog content out there really frequently. The way the internet consumes words nowadays is so important to SEO. So
Yeah.
in the digital age that we are in, the core fundamental skill of being able to read and write is more important than ever.
It is. It's massive, and making sure you get the message right is huge. I mean, you know, like I say, that my passion is writing, but it's also communicating. It's about turning lights on for people. It's about getting something that's maybe very complicated in your head and getting it down and distilling it to something that has an effect with the least amount of words possible, almost. Like you say, SEO. My first job. As a copywriter at Jigsaw all those years ago, I was there. I learned SEO there. I learned all about SEO there. I learned about web design, and I learned how Google works and how all that works. And like you say, there was a massive boom towards that, and it's still relevant now because whatever content you produce has to jump over these hoops, go through these things so that you can get found, so that your business can get found, and once you've been found, you want to impress as well. And I mean, all about that from a graphics point of view. You finally come to this website, and if it doesn't look very good, then you're off somewhere else. Same with your content. If you're not able to explain yourself in a way that resonates and makes the person who's been searching through Google and found you go, these are the guys, these are the people I need to speak to. Oh, look at this, look at that. And all the right stuff is there. It's easy to find. It's a process, and it fascinates me, and it's something I really enjoy. I wouldn't be doing this now at my grand old age of whatever I am. It's if I wasn't passionate about it, if it wasn't something I really enjoy. And I've been very lucky in that I started off with a business on my mum's kitchen table. I was back with my mum for a little while. I'd been working in television for a number of years, for the BBC, one or two others, and in fact, a little side story here regarding Salisbury. Whenever I hear Salisbury mentioned to me, I think about a job that I had, very early job out of the BBC as a researcher, and I was working for Crime Watch.
Right.
So don't worry, and suddenly go put bars across your windows in your shed there. But we were doing Crime Watch Solved, and it was all about cases that have been solved, and in this case, it was a really interesting case from the 1970s that had been solved by Wiltshire Police in Salisbury, and we got to film in Salisbury for a week and had the most amazing time. Loved it there. It's a beautiful place to film. But the good thing with Crime Watch as well is that the cops are always on your side, and they'll bend over backwards to provide you with great content. So all the stuff that we made, that we were able to go through all the archives from the 1970s, all this kind of stuff. And it was just a brilliant experience. But Salisbury, for me, I just fell in love with the place. So when I heard that you'd moved from Lichfield to Salisbury, I was like, "You jammy bugger! You've gone from the most beautiful cathedral city in the Midlands down to the most beautiful cathedral city in the south." And so yeah, fair play to you. But anyway, sorry.
That's all right.
In a previous life, I was working in the creative industry in television, and I'd gone from that. I'd had an accident in London, which meant I'd broken my leg and all this kind of stuff, and I'd had to sort of change things very quickly. And I moved back, and I was freelance working for the Beeb and one or two others down there. And all of a sudden, I was back at my mum's in Derbyshire, leg in plaster, couldn't walk. And a friend of mine who had worked with Jodie's website agency had said, I've read your writing before. Ironically, it was a blog I'd written about running the Amsterdam Marathon in 2010, and there I was a year later with my leg in plaster. And he said, but you can write. I really like your writing. You've got a good style. They need somebody to do SEO and copywriting. And I was like, well, what's that? I don't even know what those things are. And he's like, well, take it from me. It's something you can do on your laptop with your leg in plaster up on the sofa from your mum's house, and if you can do that, then get some work sent over to her. She'll send you a brief. And it'll give you a bit of money, but it'll stop you from getting bored as well. But it took off. She really liked what I did. The clients were liking what I did, and excuse me. it just went from there, you know, and all of a sudden I had this new career, and I'd always intended to go back into television. I was always going to move back to London, always get moving to television. And it took me a good couple of years, physiotherapy and operations to get my leg properly back together. And by the time I was sorted again, it was like a couple of years down the line. I was like, well, do you know what? I was successful in copywriting in my own way, and I was doing a lot of networking around Nottingham, Derby, and I'd really sort of got back being at home. You know, my sister wasn't far away. Her husband, who's you know pretty much my best friend. My mum, I was seeing life, you know, at a slower pace from London as well, less expensive pace than London, and I just made a success in this new thing that I was doing. So, as I say, it's gone from my mum's living room table, but I've done stuff for the FA, I've done stuff for FedEx, UEFA. I've done stuff for Boots, Volvo, Saab, and lots. I've worked with lots of agencies as well. I've been in-house before COVID, and you know, I'm a remote worker, so lockdown for me hasn't been as painful as it has been for other people. I'm kind of lucky in that respect.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a very long-winded answer.
It's fine. No. It's good. It's good. It's good to hear. It's good to hear you talk about it. And you know, it's nice to sort of hear that sort of history. You know, you had an injury, you moved back, but then you know, from that sort of low point in life, you know, you've risen up and something really good's come of it. So because you've ultimately ended up where you are here. So, just something you mentioned there when you were talking about the chap or lady who recommended you to Jigsaw.
Yes.
They, you know, your immediate reaction was, well, what's that? What's SEO? Do you think there's an element of like digital marketing in particular and around SEO that like SEO is a bit of a dark art? Let's not beat around the bush.
True.
But actually, that's what the perception of it is. Actually, SEO is all about good words, isn't it?
It is. It's about putting yourself in the shoes of whoever's looking for you, and really getting to the nuts and bolts of how they're going to look for you and what they're going to look for. But at the same time, putting yourself in a position where you stand a little bit apart from others. So when, you know, when people do find you, you've got to be found, but you've also got to be found in a way that once you are found, you impress. And it's uniting the creativity with the science, if you like. And you know, copywriting, especially for web content, is especially about that. I mean, if you know, with some of the corporations that I mentioned there, I'm lucky in a way that sometimes, because they're so well established, they're already out there. They're already found. Their websites are stacked with content that goes back years, and you can afford to be a little bit more flowery and that with with some of it, and have a bit more of a creative field day and make it a bit more magazine-like, you know. But that's it. It depends on the size of your business. It depends what results you're after, and it's like any kind of writing, really. It's all about your audience. It's all about nailing it for them.
Yeah. So I think the message there in that respect is, if you're struggling with SEO, struggling to get your head around it, don't beat yourself up. Speak to somebody in the know. Speak to somebody who understands it, because it isn't difficult. And if you engage with someone like yourself, then you can take a massive headache away and reap the rewards from outsourcing that to a good copywriter.
I guess people like us, we're time savers as well. You know, we and yourself, you know, we kind of become your marketing arm, the marketing department that you can't necessarily afford to have in-house, but you don't necessarily have the time to do on your own. You know, it's very easy to pick up a box of crayons and go, oh look, I'm an artist, you know, and or just, you know, copy is terrible for that. You know, so many people think they can just write their own copy and understand SEO just like that and do it. It's not quite like that. They you know, that's not to take away from what some people do. Some people are naturally attuned to that, but you know, don't like you say, don't beat yourself up. Get somebody else to do it for you, who's trained in it, who's practiced in it, and who has experience in it. It'll pay off.
Yeah, no, it's good. A big message there. I think if it's not what you're good at, get someone to do it who is good at it for you. So we know that you spent some time in London, and when you came back, that's when you discovered your love of words and writing.
Yeah.
So you're in Derby, you're now in Berlin, you've been to Canada.
Yes, yeah, in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not very good at geography or finding my way home. Obviously, it was a hell of a night out. That was.
No, and it doesn't surprise me if that is actually how it happened with you, to be honest. But so tell us a little bit more about your journey to end up where you are here now in a bit more detail. So not necessarily about the work as such, but like what brought you to be where you are.
Well, I was having a bit of a sort of low and dark time in my life in around the end of 2017, start of 2018, and a good friend of mine moved to Toronto, just outside Toronto in 2010, took his wife, his kids and everything. They were okay with that. He didn't just say, right, we're off. And they moved out there, lock stock from Derbyshire, a little town called Ilkeston. And, a massive change, massive cultural change for them. But they've never looked back, they love it out there. And anyway, my mate Paul, he knew I was going through a bit of a rough time. He's like, mate, just come out. We've got a spare room here, and you can come and stay with us. It'd be great to see you. Come and have a couple of weeks and do what you like. And just use as a base, which was really nice of him. And so I did. I booked. This was about January, February 2018. I booked the flights. Flew out in June, and like I said, got a fortnight there. Great, because I was staying at my mate's, so I didn't have to pay any accommodation costs, all that kind of stuff, and it was just great to hang out with one of my longest known friends, get pissed and just do nice lad things together, and he's got a lovely family, and we go back a long way, so it was nice. At that time, I was also single, and I was starting to fiddle around with online dating apps, all that kind of jazz, and I really was. Oh, mate, my heart wasn't in it. I tried it before. There are some weirdos out there, and I can't. I put my hand on my heart, fully count myself as one of them. The amount of first dates I went on that didn't go anywhere because they're like, "You're a nice guy," and I'd be like, "Oh," so my heart wasn't quite in it. Anyway, there was a few people on the radar, and I basically in June I said to them, look, a couple of people have pinged me and said, do you want to meet up, do something? I'd be like, well, I'd love to, but I'm going to be in Canada for a fortnight. And that night when I landed in Canada, completely jet lagged, trying to force myself to stay awake through the night. So I sat outside, a couple of beers, a few friends, and sort of fiddle around with my phone, and go onto the dating app and say, there's a couple of people in there, and I said, look, I'm in Canada. I'd love to meet you when I get back. Turn my phone off, forgot about it. And for that brief 10 or 15 minute period that I was on Bumble, it was. I don't know if you're allowed to use brand names here, but it was.
There are other dating apps available.
other dating apps are available, also completely filled with weirdos, but also beautiful people, because the following morning, I just turned my phone on and bing, bing, there's like a couple of people who found me. And for that brief 15-minute period that I'd gone on my phone in Canada, I turned up on the radar of whoever happened to be online at that time in Toronto. And there was two women, one whose name I can't remember, sorry, and the other one, this girl called Regan, or I couldn't quite work out how to say her name. It was all a bit weird. And basically on the profile it said, everybody needs a bit of Ross in their life, swipe right to claim yours. And that was it. And and this message said, oh, I've got serious FOMO, which is fear of missing out. So I thought I'd better swipe right. And I started having this conversation with this girl, and she had a brilliant sense of humor. And we just started hitting it off and everything. And anyways, in the car, we were all on the way to get donuts or something. And as you do, Canada. What else is there to do? And oh, look, a moose. That's it. That's the day in Canada. And basically, my mate was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I seem to have got into this conversation with someone in Toronto." He's like, "Oh, you nutter! What are you like?" Anyway, we kept talking, and I was like, "She seems really nice." And we arranged. I was there for the fortnight. We arranged to meet on the middle in between the 2 weeks on the Saturday, and with Paul, I was able to sort of work out a good place to go. And she was really impressed. She's like, oh my God, you know the city really well. And I was like, yeah, well, like,
I've been here a week.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the other thing. She didn't know at first that I was only dipping in and out. She thought I was somebody who lived there. And she then at some point asked the question, look, are you on holiday here? And I was like, yeah. But by then we'd said, look, we'll meet up. We get on. It's fun. What's the harm in meeting up? And we met up and we properly hit it off. And anyway, long story short, I flew back at the end of the 2 weeks. 3 days later, she'd booked a flight to England to come and stay with me. She came out and stayed with me in my house for like three weeks. I think we ended up going to about a month. She actually cancelled her flight and extended it. She flew back. Obviously, we're chatting like this every day. Thank God for technology. And then in September, she comes back again. So we've gone from meeting her in June. She's been to England once. She's coming again in September. And I proposed to her.
Wow.
Because it was already clear that we really, loved one another, and it was huge. And it was a case of, you're in this country, I'm the other side of the ocean in this country. If we're going to do it, we've got to do it. And we kind of talked around marriage. And so it was one night. I'm a Derby County fan for all the faults. There's another. I'm a Derby County fan. It was in front of 27,000 people at Pride Park at half time. I know a guy who works at Derby County, good mate of mine. He hosts their TV channel, and he arranged, put me in touch with the right people. And what I thought they were going to do was just put a message on the screen, which is what I'd asked for. But what they did was they actually put the cameras on us, and Regan wasn't expecting this. And they said, oh, we're now going over to the West Stand, where a guy is Ross Lowe there, and I sort of waved, and there I am on the big the big screen, and Regan sort of goes, what the devil's going on here? And I got the ring in my pocket and all that, and proposed to her, and she, thank God, she said yes. No pressure, 27,000 people. But and we got married in Toronto City Hall. In November, so this is still the same year, 2018. Wow. I stayed there over Christmas, New Year, and then as I was out there in Christmas, New Year, Regan starts looking at jobs. So she's planning on moving lock stock from Canada to England. That was the plan. She was going to join me in Derbyshire, and she sees this job for a company called HelloFresh, who do the food box deliveries. My wife works in HR. And she's looking at this job opportunity, and she says I won't get it. It's global leadership role. She said, I won't get it. She says, but it's in Berlin. How would you feel if I applied for that? And I was like, well, it's not that close to Nottingham, or Derby, but come on, why not? What have you got to lose? Yeah. And sure enough, she applies to the job, convinced she's not going to get it, and they're straight onto her in terms of interviewing her. And it's clear that they're keen. And as the sort of days and weeks go by, she's like, I think I'm doing all right here. I might get this. And I was like, well, follow it through. Let's see what happens. Sure enough, she lands the job. And so the next thing, less than a year after meeting, we're moving. She's moving from Canada. I'm moving from England. We both moved to Berlin. And wow. She's now global head of recruitment here at HelloFresh. Their headquarters are here in Berlin. I thought they were a British company. They're actually German, but they've gone global. And she works here, and I still work for the majority of my British clients, but from Berlin. So in the space of less than 12 months, everything changed. Yeah. And here we are, and it's fantastic, and we're both very happy, and life's great, and we've got a baby on the way, so rock and roll.
So everything's about to change again. Yeah. So what an amazing story that is. So it is proper rock and roll stuff, that, and but sometimes things are meant to happen, aren't they? Things happen for a reason. And you were meant to go to Canada at that time because this has come from it. So brilliant. And I've got to say as well, mate, like balls of steel, because
let me check.
but no, you've just seen it and gone for it. this is what I want to do. It feels right. Go with it. Like, trust your gut. It's one of the things I say quite a lot. But if you trust your gut, rarely is your gut feeling wrong.
That's true. That's massively true. I mean, when it came down to proposing to her, I knew it was right. And I heard all those stories down the years of like, oh, when you meet the right one, you just know. And I was like, it's rubbish, because either I was looking the wrong way, or whenever that person was there or whatever. And I've missed that boat. I've missed that chance. And then, but the night before I proposed, I was certain it was going to be all right. But I had a dream the night before that. Actually about the event, and we were in the ground, and she said no, and the whole ground just went, as if like we missed a goal. And that kind of was a bit like that, when I got into the ground and was sort of thinking it through. But no, I never doubted it, and we never doubted this, and the key is to just keep running with it as well. Just keep saying yes, and see where it takes you.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's good advice. That is, there was a guy who wrote a book about that, wasn't it? He said he wasn't going to say no for a year. So if somebody asked him to do something, he'd just say yes.
That's right.
No matter what it was.
Danny, somebody. He was a comedian, wasn't he? I know who you mean. Yeah. And didn't they make a film out of it as well? Yes Man or something like that?
Quite possibly, yeah.
It was kind of based on it, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the general gist of what he did for a year, like, it enhanced his life by saying yes and being more positive generally. So, fair play to you, mate. I think it's a great story and what a journey. So how does it feel working in a foreign country, remotely working in a foreign country during a global pandemic, when you are a fucking long way from home?
Yeah. Oh, we can swear.
Yeah.
Great. It's interesting. I mean, for me, working remotely, it's something I've always done in a way. So I'm kind of okay in that it's not taking me a lot of time to get used to it. The fact that we're in a different country has been interesting. One where we don't, really speak the language that well. We've learned a lot since we came here, and can cope a lot better with that now. But it's been interesting. There's a lot to get used to, and with the pandemic as well, you sort of really having to keep your eyes on the news. It's very easy to miss updates of what's going on because, as I say, the news is all in German. There are English news outlets here, and we've got some really lovely neighbours, German, who kind of like translate a lot of stuff or let us know when something's happening. But it's been very interesting. I mean, I think I would say that on a personal level, but obviously your personal life can affect your business life. Obviously, it's not having family around, not having people you can run to when things aren't quite right, and you're just having a down day, which we've all had, during the pandemic. It's such a weird thing. That has been a big, a very difficult thing for us. Regan as well, my wife, she would normally work in the office at HelloFresh, and so she's had to get used to working at home. And we're kind of like ships in the night as well. She would normally work here in the bedroom. This desk, I've got one in the kitchen, and that's where I work. And we sort of, say cheerio to each other when we leave the bedroom, and then get together for lunch, watch a bit of Netflix, and then hours gone, right back to it, and then get together for in the evenings to discuss dinner, and yet whilst being in the same house, and that's weird, so that's been an adjustment as well. But it is just keeping positive, but it's also realizing that everybody else is in the same boat. And like I say, I am very lucky in that my job's remote, so I've managed to.
You're used to it.
To my clients, and sort of know what's going on, but not always easy.
No. So obviously you've rebranded yourself, because when you were in the UK, when we first worked together, you were it was Find Me at Ross.
That's right,
wasn't it? Yeah.
That's the old email address. Find me at rosslow.co.uk. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well remembered, mate.
Yeah, so it's all in there. It's not just a hat stand. So it's the English copywriter now. Obviously, the international language of business is English.
That's right. Generally, yeah. And if a business wants to sort of expand beyond its own country, then having English content, or at least English marketing materials is kind of a necessity, really. But one thing I have learned coming here, and you always seem to find wherever you go in the world, is that people generally are really, good at speaking English
Mm.
to a passable level, in the ways that we can't suddenly know every language
Yeah.
around the world or whatever. And it's I'm always amazed. I mean, everybody here in Berlin can speak English if they want to. They don't always
Yeah.
want to, but
Yeah.
it's fascinating. And yeah, it's you've got to have something that unites everybody around the world. And if it's language, then that kind of makes sense, because you want to be understood, don't you? You
Yeah.
want people to get you, and to know that you're the best at what you do, and
Mm.
buy
Yeah.
your services, I
Yeah.
guess.
So still doing a lot in the UK with UK based clients. Have you picked any work up out there in Berlin or anywhere else in Europe?
Yes, I've done some work with a few agencies out here in Berlin. I've picked up some work around Europe as well, Barcelona, and including a client that you and I have both worked together with
Yeah.
since.
Yeah.
But yes, people in all kinds of different places, actually. And I think it's because I've come out here and I've just had to think bigger, if you like, to make sure that I've constantly got work coming in. But it's also from a fascination point of view. I want to get to know how other cultures work, and how they do business, how they do it differently. And that's been quite an eye-opener. And the first agency that I ended up working out here in Berlin. I don't know what you would think of when you first think of Berlin. If you think of the wall, or the war,
Yeah.
or the fact that it's a bit of a kinky place, a bit like
I've
Amsterdam.
been. I have been to Berlin. I
Have
really
you?
like. Yeah, I have. I
It's
went with
great.
my brother years ago, and it is a really cosmopolitan, but very, very, um, just yeah, cosmopolitan's place. I think there's lots
Yeah.
going on there. So yeah,
There is. We got all kinds of nationalities around it, which is really exciting, and again, you can just pull in on people's experiences and stories, and it's just brilliant. But yeah, the first job I got out here was for an agency. It was writing content for a male sex toy company in
brilliant.
Berlin, who've done really well in Germany, and they wanted to expand, if that's the right word, out to America. And they needed help with their marketing to achieve that. So I had to write a load of blog content, the research for which was quite interesting and eyebrow raising.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is that thing of, like, you go to Berlin, what's the first thing you're going to write about? Sex toys? Yes, of course it is. Of course.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So you've come all the way from Derby via
Yeah.
Canada to Berlin, and you're now writing blogs for sex toys to an American market.
That's
Like,
that's my life.
do you know what? Like, this shit could only happen to you. And all of this
Amazing.
happened
Well,
because you broke your leg in London.
isn't that mad? Yeah, the lucky break. It was, yeah. I was
Yeah.
lunging. I was actually lunging. We were in the office at the BBC on a Friday afternoon. I was like, "What are you doing for the weekend?" Just a few people saying they're going to the gym, and I was like, "Oh yeah, well, if you got to, you go to the gym, you got to warm up properly." And I leapt out of my chair to do a lunge. And my
Broke your leg.
kneecap dislocated, broke my leg, and everything changed from there, and just
Yeah.
keeps going. It's this weird snowball of disaster and excitement. That's my life.
And a bit of positivity in your mindset, and just saying yes if it feels right, following your gut, and you are where you are, mate. It's a fair play to you. Fair play.
Yes.
So moving swiftly on for German sex toys being sold to America. So you touched on it earlier. You and Regan. It's Regan, isn't it? That's how you
It is
pronounce
Regan.
it.
Yeah. Well done. Yeah.
We did connect on LinkedIn the other day, actually. So
Oh, congratulations! You're in
what
for
a
an
lovely
exciting
lady.
time.
What a
Yeah,
lovely
she's
lady.
great. She's
Yeah.
wonderful.
No,
I'm very
I do look forward to meeting her in person one day, whether that's
You
in
will,
Germany,
guarantee.
Canada, Derby, wherever it is. But yeah, it'd be lovely to
Yeah.
meet her. So you and Regan are expecting your first baby in April.
Yes. April, yeah, spot on. April the 24th is the due date.
2.5
So yeah,
months, mate.
busily. I know it's not long to finish getting the nursery done and everything, but yeah, we're on target. We got all the furniture. It's just that unknown. Even though everybody tells you what it's gonna be like, it's gonna go batshit crazy, and I'm totally aware of that. And we're both a bit nervous but excited, and I mean, you've been there, but it's all those. It's a real maelstrom of feelings. And actually, it's good to be busy in the meantime, because while you're doing work and everything, it just takes your mind off the fact that really inside you're going shit.
Yeah, definitely. And if I'm brutally honest with you, mate, that feeling doesn't change. Like my little girl,
Sure.
my little girl's 4 in a month, and
Oh,
it's like I'm still. sit down sometimes and look at my life and think, I own a small child. I'm in charge of a small child. I'm
mental.
barely capable of looking after myself, or so I thought. But so far, she's still here. She's still alive. She's still healthy, and she's still cute as anything. So, you do again. Like your attitude to life is fantastic, and you follow that into parenting. You just,
Oh, hope so.
you know,
I hope so. It is that thing of like, I just really hope we don't screw this up. But you want to give her the best opportunities, and it is going to be a little girl, by the way, and you just
brilliant.
want to give her the best opportunities, and just try and make the world better for her. And all of a sudden, it's you can spend your lifetime thinking about it and thinking, oh, when the baby comes along, I'll make sure they don't do this, or make sure they don't get exposed to that, or whatever that I did when I was growing up. And then all of a sudden, you're like, fuck, it's 2.5 weeks to go.
Mm.
I don't even know how to talk anymore. What's going on?
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah. We'll watch this space. We'll keep you updated.
Yeah, so now I'm really excited for you, mate. I think you'll be amazing
Thank you.
parents. I know you will, and I'm sure, obviously, Regan will be amazing, equally as amazing, and
She
it's going
will.
to be an
She
amazing
will.
journey. So obviously, when the baby arrives, that's obviously going to affect the family dynamic, the working dynamic. Sorry.
It is. It is.
So how do you see that working?
It's going to be interesting, especially being born into lockdown, which is almost
Mm.
certain as to what's going to happen. And yeah, I mean, Regan will go on maternity. This is one thing in Germany, you can have a year's maternity out here, which is just
Well,
incredible. So she's going to look to take as much of that as possible, I think. But situations could change. Um, we're sort of planning ahead in terms of how long we're going to be in Germany for. It was never going to be somewhere we were going to stay forever. It was more to do with, like, having an adventure, and being able to see as much of Europe as we can from a central space. And of course, lockdown has completely put the kibosh on that. We just see our living room and our balcony, and that's it. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting thing, really. I mean, I'll take some paternity, and then obviously there'll be a bit of house husbandry and everything else working from home. So it'll have to kind of work side by side, and I guess I'll just have to learn how to balance that, really. But
yeah,
as I say, Regan will be here and doing the mum thing, which will be amazing. Now, I think for me, sort of personally, the most difficult thing, and for Regan, is that like being born in lockdown in another country, we're not going to have family around,
mm,
which is desperately sad for my mum and Regan's mum. The first time they get to see their granddaughter is on Zoom like this,
yeah,
which is just, when you think about it, is just insane.
yeah,
Um, and that's really hard. And my niece and nephew, they're not going to see their cousin properly for a long time, and when they eventually do, she'll have grown so much, she'll have changed. And um so that for me is hard. And I think it's going to be interesting seeing how that early stage of our child's life um treated and carried out in such an alien way, a way that's
mm,
not natural. She's not mixing with other kids, she's not going out and about and doing things as freely as a child should be able to. That's going to be interesting, and we're really going to have to keep an eye on that, I think.
yeah,
I mean, God forbid, COVID and the lockdown just goes on and on and on. I hope that it will eventually come to some kind of cessation, but it's at the moment, it's all these are the kind of worries we've got at the moment. And I mean, who's to say? We've got to roll with it. Everybody's in the same boat. Any child that's being born, apart from in Australia or New Zealand, is kind of
yeah.
going through this thing at the moment. No matter where you are, you can't win. So, but yeah, it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one.
Yeah.
And yeah, the work situation alongside a baby. you know, it's difficult for whether you've got lockdown or not. You have to learn how to balance it. But people do, people survive. So
This is it, mate.
hopefully
This
we
is
will
it.
as well.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think again it all comes down to attitude and mindset. I think because um, and teamwork. Teamwork's the big thing. My wife is a teacher, and
Yeah.
she's just amazing with my little girl. And she, like through lockdown, Sarah's been teaching at home. Emily's been at home because her nursery closed. So they've like Sarah's just been juggling it, and I don't do as nearly as much as she does in the week, and I'm left to sort of focus on my work and doing this. But you know, as soon as Sarah's got something that she needs to focus on, it's just a question of juggling diaries, really. So that's what we do. Like, so Wednesday mornings now, I don't book anything for the first thing 9 till 10 because Sarah's got an A-level lesson that she needs to deliver on Zoom, so on Teams.
Of course.
So I've got it for the first, but that's and that's just all you can do, really, and just be flexible. And as you said a couple of times in this, everyone's in the same boat. So people understand. People are a lot more understanding, and you know, the bottom line is, mate, family comes first.
Yes, mate. Yeah. And it has to be that way. Yeah, it is. I think you've got to remind yourself, like you say, everybody's in the same boat, and but also, you know, it makes it easier for people to empathise with you as well. And it's very easy to get stuck in your own house and all that kind of thing, and think you're a bit of an island, you're a bit isolated. You're not, in a way, and this is why my business continues to go, because, you know, even if I'm in a different country, it doesn't matter, because that's what remote working is all about. That's what the internet gives us. That's what Zoom and all these forms of communication give us. And thankfully, we're the pandemic has happened in an era when we are able to electronically communicate. And
Can you imagine if
it's
this
holding us
was
all together.
imagine if this was 20 years ago? We'd have all been
Oh
sat
my
at home
God.
on Snake. Remember?
Yeah, that's right. So
Jesus.
communicating. Oh, I've gone over my character limit. Oh no, I can't say that.
Oh,
But
I'm on level 4 million on Snake. Like,
that's right. It's all you'd have. But
yeah.
but it also means that you know, you are, despite being so far away from my family, I can be in touch with them like that.
Yeah.
And I can talk to them about, really, you know, and show them things and stuff. So it's not as bad as it could be. And
I also think as well,
really,
Ross, like by the time we get out of COVID, and we will be out of COVID before the end of this year, I've no doubt about that.
Got to be.
Yeah, I just don't think, like, the vaccine's being rolled out now, so this time next year we should be not well clear. There'll still be things in place, but we should be clear of it in the main.
Yeah, I hope so.
Like, you're very fortunate that your daughter will be very small during that sort of end period of COVID, and by the time she gets to nursery, wherever that may be in the world, she won't remember. She won't even comprehend what COVID is, because she's going to be so small. Like, obviously, you want to try and get those sensory classes in, and for her to be around other kids as soon as you can. But you know, when she's 16, she won't remember any of that. So
no, it'd be something she learns about in history.
Yeah. So no, I think you'll be amazing. I'm sure Regan will as well. And you know, it's an amazing journey, and I look forward to meeting them both when you're back and when the little ones arrive, mate. So
it'd be great to see you. It really would. It'd be really nice to catch up.
No, definitely. So
and you can actually get a look at Salisbury for the first time and see where you live now that you've moved.
All I've seen is my garden.
Oh, bless you.
So, right, I'm just conscious of time. So there's one agenda point I wanted to sort of pick up on to sort of like act as a bit of a wrap up on this, because we've covered quite a lot, and I'm sure there's going to be insight in there for people to pick up on. I'm sure of it, in fact. So what are your top tips for anyone who's faced with a decision of whether they should travel for work? And when I say travel, I don't mean like putting an extra 10 minutes on your commute. I mean traveling, moving away to another place, another country, another continent for work.
I guess the first thing I would say is, you know, do your research, because it can seem like a very attractive idea to go and work abroad and challenge and push yourself and all this kind of thing, and maybe to live somewhere sunny or whatever. But, you know, do your research, look into the cost of living, medical costs, factor in if you're going to be commuting from where you're going to be working and all that kind of thing to somewhere where you can afford to live. Look into what all those kind of things, because it would save you a lot of time, a lot of grief, for starters. But also, you will find that there are people, if you really look, you'll find there are people that have written blogs and stuff about this kind of thing, and right from a personal level about, all the things that you probably wouldn't think about at first, but things that affect you on a day-to-day level, about things like going to the supermarket and it's all in a foreign language, or everything's packaged in a foreign language. You don't know the layout of stores and all that kind of thing. It takes time, and it can be quite soul destroying, some of the stuff, getting to use local transport, all that kind of thing. So look into it, educate yourself as much as you can before you go. If you move to Europe, how's Brexit going to affect you? I mean, we're lucky that I moved out here before Brexit happened, and Berlin has got, and various states around Germany have got an agreement that they will look after British citizens and make sure they've got the EU rights that they had before, won't be diminished or damaged or anything. So I'm very lucky. I still live as an EU qualified Brit. If you move to Germany now, it would be very different, or France, or wherever. So, teach yourself. What are you going to have to do first? Paperwork, that kind of thing.
Logistics of life, would you say?
Logistics of life. But I would also say, don't be put off. Accept that it's going to be hard. Being away from your family, being different culture and all that kind of thing, but use it as an opportunity to enhance yourself and to understand other cultures and to learn about tolerance and acceptance and diversity and all these things that have taken a bit of a battering over the last few years, sort of around the world. There is so much to learn from people in other places, and if you get the opportunity to work abroad, really see how you can make it work. Don't be put off. It will be hard, but it's so worth it. We've had some great times out here. We've made some great friends. Had some great experience. Before we locked down, we got to go to Poland. We got to go to other parts of Germany. We did some traveling, and we made the most of it. And it's exciting.
Brilliant. So definitely do your research, work out the logistics of life, and embrace the challenge. I think they're
defo. You should be a copywriter, mate.
Right, well,
bang on.
I'm good with headlines, and that's about it. As soon as you want more detail, then that's your bag. So, definitely. Well, that's really, really good. Good advice there from someone who's been there, seen it, and done it. So, thanks for sharing, mate. It's been brilliant to see you. I'd like to wrap it up there because I want to try and get this episode done and launched this month. Sure. As we are in lockdown now, as we're recording, I'd like to get it released in that time period as well, so it's still really relevant for everyone listening. Cool. So thank you, mate, for sharing, and the very, very best of luck for the next few weeks.
Thank you. It's going to be crazy, but thanks very much for all the advice you've given, and in terms of parenthood and that kind of thing. But also thanks for being the inspiration who got me started copywriting in the first place. None of this would be happening without you, so it's your fault.
It's all my fault. It's all Gareth's fault. I hear that quite a lot, to be honest. It's never in such a positive note. So but no, thanks for that, mate. And lovely to see you. And I'll make sure that all of your contact details are dropped into the show notes. If anybody listening wants to make contact with you, I'm sure that you'll be open to inboxes on LinkedIn and so on and so forth. So yeah. Brilliant.
Come and chat. If anything, advice, or if you just want to chat during lockdown, I'm open to that.
Excellent. Brilliant. Well, thanks very much, mate. Have a good evening. And we'll wrap up at that.
Cheers, mate.